Welcome everybody to our launch party. This is our first ever podcast. We haven't even named our group yet, but we got so much New York Giants football to talk about that we wanted to get started before we even named the podcast. In fact, what we might do is ask you guys to post in the chat or the comments what you think the name of our podcast should be. And we'll take
Don't
some of
be
your
funny.
ideas, give it some strong consideration, and then take it from there. I'm Atticus Davis. It's my
I'm Mumar
man Mumor
Davis.
Mahaji Davis, and we gonna take Giants football. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell them how we gonna be doing this thing?
So I'm Mumar Davis, of course, longtime Giants fan, and we just really gonna be talking New York Giants on this podcast. Nothing else. What we love, what we don't love, what we want to see next week, and how that previous game made us feel. So that's pretty much what this podcast is gonna be all about.
Yeah, and you know what? Not for nothing, the Giants gave us a whole lot to talk about this episode because they did not play their best. In fact, it was wildly disappointing, to watch that game. If you're a Giants fan, that's one of the hardest games that you ever had to watch. And one of the things that we don't want to do, and me and Moo talked about this before, we don't want to be on here sounding like bitches, right? But we going to give it to you the way we saw it. But we also, it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters that our team did not perform well, but we still Giants fans, right? So we still want to root for them. Like Moose said last week, like we will watch a game until the clock reads 0-0-0, no matter how many or how few points we scored. Is that right?
I think that should be the name, the Giants triple zeros. I think that should be the name.
I
But
like it. It's kind of like
um,
them four rings of the Audi, right? The four rings that the Giants have, right?
you know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
I think one of the things about a lot of podcasts that I don't tune into talking to New York Giants is I want everybody to know we diehard Giants fans. We're not wish-washy, here because they're doing decent. Like no matter what happens, we are going to be Giants fans. So don't take much offense to what we're saying on this podcast. Just kind of give us your opinions, and we'll see where we can meet at on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No fair weather fans here. We the real deal.
We gotta
We
be.
ride or die with our boys. I've been like Mumar, I've been a New York Giants fan since birth, since as long as I can remember what the sport is all about. And as I began to really like learn the game of football, the ins and outs, how it's the greatest team sport ever, how it takes 11 men on the field at one time to execute a proper offense or a proper defense to score, and how every cog in the wheel of a play matters into the success of the play. When I started to really understand the internal mechanics of it, it just deepened my love for the sport. And being from New Jersey and living in New York for a period of time, both of us now live in Pennsylvania. So we surrounded by actually, we surrounded by a bunch of Eagles fans, but in our area, we got a strong contingent of Giants fans out here too. Like, and we represent, so that's something to feel real good about also. But I go to a lot of games. I've been a season ticket holder for almost 10 years now. And let me tell y'all something. There's been a lot of long rides home. It's been a lot of like sitting in the car, like Moose said, you be in the car driving home. You don't want to listen to the radio. You don't want to
No
listen to
music.
anything because you've been so depressed. But then I've also had some opportunities where I've had some really enjoyable rides home. And listen, we looking forward to that. It can't get much lower than it did this past Sunday. But what we're going to do right now is take a few minutes to break down this game. And Moo, why don't you start off and tell us what is it that you saw? I'd like for us to look at the four different parts of the game, right? The four different parts of the game are number one, coaching. Number two, you've got your offense. Number three, you've got your defense. And then four, you got special teams. Why don't you tell me, Moo, what did you see? I guess we should start with the elephant in the room, which is the offense, which was led by can we call it led by Daniel Jones or the offense led by Daniel Jones? Tell me what you saw this past Sunday from the offense against the Minnesota Vikings.
I seen a lot of left right passing, not much down the field. Terrible play calling. Um, I feel like the offensive line held up a lot better than it has in the past, and it's I don't know if we broke Daniel Jones or he didn't charge his batteries before the game, but there was also opportunities that he had that he literally threw away. Um, as far as that pick six goes that we threw, um, when you're doing a lot of left right passing all game, it's kind of hard for the defense not to know exactly where you're going with the ball. I feel like that happening was almost inevitable because it's all we did. Um, I would love if we got our wide receivers more involved. And we worked on those, deep passes that we were doing all training camp. I feel like that was the biggest. I'd rather see you throw four interceptions trying than you do 183 yards and you have more completions than not, but we really didn't do anything. We just trying to make the number look pretty.
I can get behind that, you know. Four picks, but you threw for 400 yards and two touchdowns is much better than two picks, less than 186 yards, completion percentage below 60%. And you just overall didn't look really good. I mean, you brought up, getting the ball out to the wide receivers, which means you're going vertical. A lot of side dump off passes to the left and to the right of the quarterback, pretty much in line with your offensive line and the blocking patterns that was employed. And it didn't really work out well. Daniel Jones was
It looked
22 of
bad.
42. It did look bad. It did look bad. Daniel Jones was 22 of 42, 186 yards, two picks. One of them was a pick six. And the play that you talked about where he threw the pick six, that was telegraphed. Everybody in the stadium, I was at the stadium and I'm looking at Wandell Robinson come into motion, and I knew immediately where the ball was going, which meant that the Minnesota Vikings knew which way the ball was going. And it was just difficult to look at. It was an interception that was telegraphed. Who was the guy that intercepted it? Van Ginkel. Van Ginkel saw the play develop, knew where the ball was going, got into the right spot, and not for nothing, Illuminor didn't do anything to help the play be successful. He didn't trip, he didn't block, he didn't knock his hands down, anything, and all of which he could have done within 1 yards of the line of scrimmage. And I'm not making an excuse for it. It was a bad call, bad play, but big ups to the Minnesota Vikings for seeing it develop and calling it. The thing that bothered me the most about our offense is all off season, the New York Giants in training camp um, were showing us through the highlights that we were able to see online and on social media of how they were going deep down the field. In fact, Malik Neighbors looked unstoppable, indefensible. Nobody could cover him.
All kind of
The
circus catches.
all types of circus catches. Jalen Hyatt, deep, deep routes, catching dimes. Darius Slayton doing the same thing. The New York Giants have some receivers on the team that are capable of stretching the field and opening it up, and we didn't see any of that. And you talked about the play calling. Play calling, in my opinion, was just as bad as the performance by the quarterback. Tell me more about what you saw in our play calling this past week.
So it seemed like everything was Daniel Jones throwing the ball either behind him, directly to the left of him, directly to the right of him, or maybe 2 yards in front of him. The I feel like it wasn't what we got in preseason felt underwhelming, but in my mind as a fan, we don't want to give them the show. This is the preview. I feel like we kind of looked better in preseason. I felt like they walked out onto the field as if this was a preseason game. Um, I went into this game confident that we were going to put on a show because I don't think the Vikings are as good as we made them look, and I don't think we're as bad as they made us look. But it was really such a rough start. Such a rough start. It's that pit you feel on game one. I think the last time we won a week one as the New York Giants was against the Titans, maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago. But prior to that, if you remove that,
Yeah,
the
that was
game,
2022. But the New York Giants haven't won a season opener at home since 2010.
oh, that's a harsh stat. It's a harsh stat,
Tough pill to swallow.
and when I told you, I said I'm sorry you went to that game, Monk, and you told me you wasn't sorry you went. We got such a loyal fan base, and they can't keep doing this to us, man. They can't keep doing it. I
Yeah.
wanted to see shots. I wanted them to take chances. I wanted to see when the Vikings got up by I believe it was 13 points or something like that. Start throwing the ball. Start airing it out. It's the 2 minute warning, or the half is going down. Like stop running the ball and doing screenplays. I want to see us get down the field. You
Speaking of
know,
that, I think that that points directly to Brian Dable's huge disappointment in his play call selection. He was still running 21 personnel or 12 personnel and 13 personnel when we were down 13, I think it was 13-3 at the time, maybe it was 13-6, but there were opportunities for him to give different looks to the defense because they were just running these cover two shell defenses most of the day, which has these different defenders covering different spots on the field and not man coverage, which is fine because if you run the right route, you can do a dig route, you can do a curl route, get right in that soft part of the zone and do an 8 yard play, the quick game, right? Do an 8 yard play, 10 yard play, 12 yard play, 7 yard play, and slowly but methodically march your way down the field. But there was only two or three plays that I can remember off the top of my head where we even saw a combination of Jalen Hyatt, Darius Slayton, and Malik Neighbors on the field, which meant all they were doing was running these two and three tight end sets with a running back and one wide receiver. And the thing that really challenges me, I like Theo Johnson coming out of the draft. I think Theo Johnson is going to be a good player. But why did he start more than half of the plays as our number one tight end when he has not proven himself? Shouldn't you ease him into the
you
play
got to earn
calling?
that.
Give him an
Yeah,
opportunity to be successful instead of throwing him into the fire like that. And one other thing I want to say, and then I'll turn it back over to you. Malik Neighbors played every snap on the offense as a rookie. I don't think, even though we expect big things from Malik Neighbors, I don't think that that's the right way to introduce him to the NFL, is to have him play every down like that, particularly when we invested so much draft capital in the guy. You don't even want to get him hurt. You down, you're down 21-3 and you still have him on the field with no chance of recovering and gaining traction in this score. Why is he on? Why is Daniel Jones on the field with 2 minutes left to play in the game and getting sacked as injury prone as he is?
so you know it's bad when we have divisional rivals players saying that they feel like we disrespect Daniel Jones. Micah Parsons pointed this out a couple years ago. He also said it last year that he does not understand why the New York Giants leave Daniel Jones on the field during these blowout games if he is going to be our guy. And it's kind of disrespectful to the quarterback. Um there was a team, I forgot who it was. Someone was getting blown out. The Packers. They got blown out Monday night. What did they do? They Rodgers, Garrett, all those guys got off the field. We're not going to win this game.
The
And we don't
Packers, you
listen.
mean the 49ers and the Jets?
There you go. Freaking Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, they got him off the field. We'll live to fight another week. We don't do that. We should do that. These are our guys. We're gonna need them for the full season. I hope that what we've seen from Theo Johnson isn't what's to come. I liked the draft pick in him as well. I like how athletic he is. I don't want another Evan Ingram situation. And I know Evan Ingram is one of the best tight ends in the league now. But regardless of the case, he used to have butterfingers. He used to drop passes a lot. But when he caught it, the mismatch was, it was very noticeable. I don't know what Theo Johnson can do because he had 3 targets straight to the chest and 3 drops. I do wish they gave Bellinger a little bit more opportunity. I feel like he's a solid tight end. But yeah, I really don't like like you said, having Theo Johnson as number 1 without earning that spot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And it probably put a lot of pressure on him too. But you got to catch those passes.
Theo Johnson was 1 of 4 for 18 yards.
Ugh.
Daniel Bellinger was 1 of 1 for 3 yards. So Daniel Bellinger has always had good hands. He's certainly a better in the run blocking category than he is as a pass catcher. But when he is sent out on routes, Bellinger usually does not disappoint. He catches the ball, throw it to him. He's just not the best route runner. But when he does run a good route on a quick game, he's very effective. And I think that if you slowly introduce Theo Johnson into the play calling as a tight end, he will prove himself. He will do well. But like you alluded to, you put him in a high pressure situation. This was our centennial game. 100 year, you had every single Giants legend who could attend in attendance, and you put up that performance. That was a high pressure situation that not everybody can weather well. I think Malik Neighbors did well. I think Wandell Robinson is going to be a tremendous asset on offense. I don't even think our running backs did that poorly because you mentioned the offensive line earlier. I think they did a much better job opening up running lanes this year than they did last year, and they're only going to get better as long as they stay healthy. But there was a lot of disappointment in the offense as a whole, and certainly the offensive play calling. And as bad as Daniel Jones looked, and he looked bad, the areas where he might have been able to just bring his stock up a little bit, his receivers didn't help him, and the play calling didn't help him either. Let's look at the defense a little bit if we may, because it was really hard to look at some of the things that the missed tackles, the running game. We were at one point giving up, it felt like 7 yards a carry. You had Sam Darnold looking all world out there like he was playing in Madden mode and the New York Giants was playing in rookie mode. It was like really hard to look at. What do you think about the defense this past week?
So starting out the game, I was super excited. It was everything I kind of wanted. As the game went on, now this is something I took into consideration. I feel like our offense didn't really they didn't do good with time of possession. And I'm sure that wears on the defense. But even with that, I feel like the Kayvon Thibodeau and, Brian Burns, the pressure wasn't there like I wanted it to be. I thought we were going to make Sam Darnold see ghost again. Um, I really thought even with a bad offensive game going into this, if we didn't do what we wanted offensively, it doesn't matter because our defense is gonna. Sam Darnold's not gonna survive what we got, and he went out there, and it looked like Patrick Mahomes played a prank on us and put on the wrong uniform and started throwing, dimes all down the field and people running wide open. It got sad. It got sad, and I believe one of the Vikings players said after a while, we started feeling real bad because the fans was booing that loud at the game that the Vikings players said in the press conference that they started feeling bad about the game.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I think you might be surprised to know that the Giants actually led in time of possession for most of the game. The crazy thing about it is, as bad as they looked, their offense, at the expense of the Giants fans, had the ball longer than Minnesota's offense. But we did not turn possessions into points, and that made it so exceptionally depressing. And what happened was, even when the offense did move the ball, they would shoot themselves in the foot. They had 9 penalties, and they would penalize themselves out of scoring position. They'd gain 20 yards and lose 10 of it on a hold. It was just really deflating. But defensively, the thing that really bothered me was you talked about it. We didn't really feel this high level. I'm getting some feedback. Is your volume really loud?
How's that?
It's only when I'm talking do I hear it coming back through. That's much better. So the thing you said earlier, you weren't as concerned with the offense producing at a really high level because you knew the defense would keep us in the game, and they didn't disappoint on that first drive. It was incredible, right? You had a strip from our first round. What was he? A fourth round draft pick, Drew Phillips. I think it was a third round. He was third round. Drew Phillips. Great job of stripping the ball and Okereke coming around and recovering a fumble at the 20. At the 20. After a disappointing opening possession from the Giants, you're at the 20 and you're in 21 personnel. You have a 2 and 3 tight end package on the field. You should have Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, and you should have Darius Slayton on the field in that situation. You bring in a tight end, Chris Manhertz, which is excellent in my opinion, as a pass protector and a run blocker. Give Daniel Jones an opportunity, run a good play, and that doesn't work, run another good play. My opinion is, and not for nothing, he scrambled because they were third down and 7 at one point. He scrambled for a first down. He could have hit Wan'Dale Robinson across the middle and picked it up, but he tucked it down. He got the first. Okay, so now you first and goal from the 9, and you can't punch it in. That was extremely deflating. But our defense, I keep going back to this offense because it was so bad.
It was
But
bad.
our defense was so disappointing. I'm watching this game, and I was so excited to see Thibodeau and Burns killing the edge and Dexter Lawrence collapse in the middle. We saw one play that made us proud of our defense. One play when we got a sack. It is from somebody who you expected anyway, right? With Dexter Lawrence. Where was Brian Burns? Where was Kayvon Thibodeau? We didn't get any edge pressure from these guys. Not to mention, they were giving up chunks of yardage in the running game. Very disappointing. Secondary, I was happy with the secondary, though. I thought
And I thought it was going to be reversed.
I was happy Adoree Jackson came in and I did think he did a fabulous job. But Darius Muasu, who's a 5th-round draft pick as a linebacker, why was he in the game when, damn, I can't even think of
McFadden.
Michael McFadden should have been in it. Michael McFadden was healthy. And I'm not saying I'm not happy with the draft pick of Darius Muasu, but Michael McFadden is good. He's proved himself. He's earned a starting position. Why was he on the sideline? I don't understand that. That flag that Adoree Jackson was credited with on that deep shot from Sam Darnold down the right side, that was great defense. There was no penalty that should have been called on. And I'm not bitching about no, I'm just saying. He didn't do anything. There wasn't contact before he turned his head. He threw his hand up. There may have been some incidental but he had just as much right to the ball as the receiver did. overall, I think the defensive strategy was not very good. And the only reason I say that is because Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, they got not get enough pressure, which tells me that the defensive scheme was not complementing their best abilities. We spent a lot of draft capital and free agency capital to get these guys, and they
Mm-hmm.
did not produce to the standard that we wanted to see on the field. So I'm blaming them, but I'm also blaming coaching. I'm not. I thought our secondaries held up pretty well. Justin Jefferson going to do what Justin Jefferson do,
Yeah.
right? He going to get a few, but not for nothing. The defense was able to hold Justin Jefferson to 4 catches for 59 yards and 1 TD. I'll take that. That's those are low numbers for Justin Jefferson.
Let me
But when you
ask you.
don't put up any points on offense, it don't matter how well your defense is playing, it's not going to work out.
Let me ask you, because you were at the game when we got the ball at the 20 from the fumble. How our offense performed in that situation. Did you feel early deflation? Did it feel like, because for me, I felt like how we went out and pretty much got the field goal. It felt like we're about to do what the New York Giants do right now. We're
I
about to
didn't
just
feel it at that point. No. I
I,
did feel it when we came out in the second half. They got the ball. We there was a punt that happened. That we stopped them, they punted it, they stopped us, we punted it. They got the ball at the 1 yard line. And I said to the guy sitting next to me, I said, this is going to be a 99-yard drive. And they are going to score a touchdown. And that's when I felt what you described. That when we got the ball at the 20, I still felt like, okay, we got 3 points out of it. It's all right. They still working out rust, but come late second quarter, beginning of the third, like if we finish the first half strong, I'm gonna feel better when we start the second. I never got that opportunity,
yeah.
especially after they had the 100-year anniversary halftime show, which was spectacular, by the way. I felt like these Giants are really, they look like shit the first half, but they're going to pull it together. But it never came. It never came.
So my next question to you is, and let's be honest, is this the floor, or do you feel like this game did enough because the media ripped into these guys, the fans ripped into these guys? I've never seen Kayvon Thibodeau so upset at a press conference. Do you feel like this is the floor and it's gonna get better, or do you feel like this is gonna define the season? This is pretty much letting you know what we're gonna get out of the New York Giants this year.
I feel like this is well below a floor. This is a sub basement. That's what I feel like. I feel like while we were at the game, this was Joe Judge 2.0, but so much worse. And the reason I say that is there was so much higher expectations coming into this game. It was the 100-year anniversary. We
Mm-hmm.
have actual good players. We have key players that any other team in the league would want to have on offense now. I'm not talking about a player who might be kind of washed up in Darren Waller, right? There was issues with him, but I'm not saying I was disappointed that we picked him up. I wasn't.
Yeah.
But there was teams that would pass on him. Malik Neighbors, nobody would pass on him. Wandell Robinson, there are a couple of teams that might, but many of them will take a chance on him. Darius Slayton has proven himself. Jalen Hyatt, he's a deep threat. These are players I'm only naming on offense, right? That are legitimate players that other teams would bring on their team and they could start. And many of them would start. Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, we got names. When that game started to get out of control, where it became clear that here we go again. The feeling that I got in the pit of my stomach was worse than I got watching the Cowboys curb stomp the Giants 40-0 to start the season. Like, it was worse because we didn't have this type of talent. We didn't
So
have this much this much enthusiasm going into last year as we did this year, because last year was bad.
last year was bad.
Yeah.
So before we go on to next week, my
Mm.
next question, and if anything, but my next question, aside from the obvious Dexter Lawrence, what did you like about last week against Minnesota?
I like the fact that the fourth quarter came to an end and the pain stopped. That was the only thing. I knew it couldn't go on forever, right?
So
And I do think that that was the bottom. We can't get worse than that. I can't imagine being worse than. I don't think it's possible to get worse than what they showed last week. I think a lot of the Giants players and coaches took a long, hard look in the mirror and they knew they let everybody down. Every, I think we're going to see a much better performance next week. And what better team to jumpstart? What better team to get right after a loss like that than the Washington Commanders? Maybe the Carolina Panthers, but
I
they
feel
aren't on our schedule this year. But Washington
so
will do just fine.
the Commanders is kind of a sleeper team. I like Jaden Daniels a lot. I like the Austin Eckler. Um, I hope we don't give them the jump start they looking for, because they looking for a jump start as well. I do feel like as far as that game goes for last week, Malik Neighbors looked good. He looked good, and I feel like if we could get him involved more, and I don't feel like we really had much plays designed for him for whatever reason. I don't know what the problem is, and that bothers me. I don't know what the real problem is of why we don't look like other NFL teams. And that does bother me. But I feel like next week, this Sunday against Washington, only reason I really like our chances is because those guys are embarrassed. They are embarrassed. They're hungry. Our D line, I feel like, is going to do damage. I don't think our D line is bad at all. I just feel like they underperformed. I love our linebackers. I want Dabol to let Daniel Jones play free. I want him to let him be him because early in Daniel Jones' career, he could sling that pill 45 yards and drop an actual dime. Hence the name. I want him to let him do that again. And I feel like our
Even
receivers
if it
now,
means 3 picks.
yeah,
I'm with you.
and I feel like our receivers now is better than any wide receiver core that Daniel Jones has ever had. I feel like we poorly misused Jalen Hyatt, and there's no reason that when he goes on the field, he is only a vertical, run far, fast, and we might throw it to you, we might not. Give him a slant. Let him use that speed. Let's let Wandell do what Wandell do, but it don't only got to be a quick screen pass. But Malik Neighbors, when he caught that one pass getting to the highest point and a focus you got to have because it looked like the pass was going to get tipped. He showed like, oh, I'm that guy. I'm more than just getting open. I could make the catches that you need me to make. I just want to use that. I want to see it.
Right. I'm right there
And I
with
feel
you.
like that's really our keys for next week is getting the D line involved and getting the receivers involved. I'm not too worried about our run game because I feel like it's not bad.
Yeah, I agree. I think you made a lot of really good points and we coming towards the end of our opening show. But I think that a part of what went wrong last week, and I hope doesn't trickle into next week, is they don't continue to run plays that doesn't look anything like what they practiced all summer in training camp. What they were running last week doesn't look anything like what they practiced for months that had us excited about these deep shots downfield, these opportunities that could put us in scoring position quickly. As you stated, the running game, I'm okay with the running game. Tyrone Tracy Jr. is going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem, but the run feeds off the pass feeds off the run. And if you
Hmm.
aren't giving them something to feel threatened over, you become one dimensional. And when you're one dimensional, you get what we got last week. And I really don't hope that I sound like I was sleeping on Washington, because you're right. They got a lot to prove too. They invested a lot of draft capital in their quarterback. They have a whole new coaching staff. They have a whole new philosophy. The Redskins we've seen in the past is not who the Giants are going to see this Sunday. It's going to be a different team, different scheme. What do they say? New eyes, new guys. Who
Hmm.
plays? So I think that they will have an opportunity to first of all, I think like you said, them guys got so embarrassed they're gonna play. You gotta play better. They can't be that bad. I can't possibly see that happening. But I just really hope that these guys, like I said, and you alluded to, they were embarrassed. They took a long, hard look in the mirror. They really focus on their keys and what they need to do, their assignments. They know what they need to do. And like you said, Jalen Hyatt needs to be more involved. He is capable of running routes now that doesn't simply include um, streaking downfield. He is capable. We've seen him do it. That wasn't his strong suit coming out of college. His strong suit was go vertical, and we'll get it to you. But they worked on his route running, and he got better. We saw that. We saw it last year, even in a season that didn't work out well. So I'm really hoping the defense also comes back to life. I like our linebackers, like you said. I was really afraid of our secondary, but I'm not so afraid anymore. I just really think they need to play better as a unit and figure out what's going on with Gunnar Olszewski, because I don't want to see Darius Slayton back there again. Put Ford Wheaton back there if you need to put somebody back there. Ford Wheaton, I think, will do a good job, returning punts and kicks. But do I think we're going to win this game on Sunday? I don't know. After seeing what we saw this past week, anybody who said, "Oh yeah, they're going to go in there and they're going to wreck shit," you stupid if that's what you think, because we don't know what to expect. Because what we expected last week and what we saw were two entirely different things.
Yeah,
There wasn't even a measurable effort that we saw last week. And I'm not trying to say them guys ain't get on the field and move around and push somebody and go like this. I'm not saying they ain't do. There wasn't enough effort and commitment to put the best product on the field. It wasn't. What are we
I
going to see
feel like
Sunday?
this
I don't
is
know.
this is a loss that could, it could mess up the confidence of a team if this happens in the middle or towards the end of the season. I feel like this loss has happened early enough that you can't necessarily give up on the team yet because it's too early and they have a lot of time to make adjustments here. But if we are going to make a push, if we are going to show people that we're not the laughing stock of the NFL, it needs to start this week coming up. It has
Right
to.
there with you. Yeah. And on that, let's say go big blue.
Go
I
Big
don't
Blue.
want to. I don't want to call it. I don't want to give a prediction. I want to say be competitive.
Give me something to watch.
Give me something to watch, because we're gonna watch it until the clock says 000, right?
Right.
But make it entertaining and competitive. Just act like a functional offense and defense. Look like an NFL team. Just give me that, and
That's
I'll
all
be
I
happy.
ask for.
All right, guys, that's a show. Till next week. What's the name of the show? What did you come up with?
Giants. I don't want it to be. I don't want people to make a joke out of the name. So something around the 000 Giants until the clock hit 000. Maybe the logo will look like an alarm clock with the three zeros. So we know like we putting them points up. This isn't gonna be that, but somewhere around that, I'll master a name
We'll
for us
figure it
though.
out. By week 4, we gonna have a name.
We
How's
gonna
that?
have a name.
We gonna have a name. Right now, it's just two brothers in Pennsylvania talking New York Giants football, fans for life, no matter what. We gonna root for our boys. We gonna hope for a win. But we gonna point it out when they messing up. That's what we gonna do
Every single time.
every
But
single time. All
until
right,
next
that's the
week.
show. And we'll see you guys next week. Go Giants. Peace.